Welcome to Bleav in Rams, presented by FanDuel. It's your home for all things Rams football this season. You know who I am, Aaron Coscarelli, alongside my guy, Tyler Dragon of USA Today. Tyler, we tell them each and every week, what do they need to do? They need to subscribe, comment. They should find us on YouTube. They should certainly leave us a comment on YouTube because we're always checking out what people at home have to say. You can also catch our show airing weekly on FanDuel TV, SoCal. And Tyler, listen, first of all, how you doing? It's good to see you. Week 2 in the books. How we feeling?
Man, I'm doing good. The Rams are 2-0, off to a really good start. In fact, both teams in LA are 2-0. So it's a good time to be a LA football fan when both teams are undefeated. We'll see if the Rams can pull off a W this week, though. This will be their biggest win in a while if they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But I know we'll get into that later.
Yep. We're going to get into that. We have a lot to get into for you folks at home. It is a rematch for the ages against the Eagles. They saw them twice last season, couldn't pull off a W. But before we get into that, of course, let's break down what we saw out of the LA Rams week 2 as they are now 2-0, continuing their AFC South portion of the schedule. Before we look to week 3, let's break down what did we see out of the Rams week 2? What went right? What went wrong? What do you think they need to improve upon? Stafford had not previously ever beaten the Titans, which was a little surprising. One of 2 teams that he has not been able to beat. I think the Steelers being the other team, but he did pull off a W, and in great fashion. It was a slow start for Stafford and company. What did you see out of the Rams in your mind? It was a nail biter by the end of the first half. I was a little nervous, not going to lie. But what'd you like and what'd you see out of the Rams, certainly in that first half, Ty?
Well, I certainly liked throughout the game, it was kind of the Rams coming out party for Davante Adams. Led the team in catches and receiving yards, and that's the type of player the Rams were hoping and expecting Davante Adams to be. Like I said before, he's every bit still a number 1 receiver. Now with the Rams, he's kind of a 1A to Puka Nacua, or you can switch it around or whatever. But he's a Hall of Fame caliber receiver, and he certainly showed so with the LA Rams. Throughout the game, I was kind of disappointed that it was a slow start. Yes, granted, it was Tennessee's home opener. We're gonna be rowdy. We're gonna be excited. Want to perform well in front of their home fans, and the rookie quarterback and Cam Ward. So I wanted the Rams to kind of insert their will against the Titans, especially being that they have a rookie under center, kind of corral him, contain him, kind of make him uncomfortable in the pocket, blitz him and everything. It wasn't like the route that I wanted the Rams to make a statement in that game, but a win's a win at the end of the day. And players and coaches all the time will tell you that a win against any NFL team is difficult to achieve. And the Rams got the W. They got out of there, and now they have probably the biggest test that they've had in a while. Certainly a measuring stick game early on in the season, week 3 in the Philadelphia Eagles. But overall, I'm not too worried about the slow start and kind of being neck and neck with a Titans team that probably won't be in the playoffs. Is in the beginning stages of their rebuild with a rookie quarterback. The Rams got the win. That's all that matters.
Yeah, a big win on the road, East Coast, early kick. We got to see Matthew Stafford take, I want to say he's been sacked, 3 times, 5 times, a number of times. And I think we all had that collective sigh of relief after he was taken down in game 1 against the Texans. And then to see that he went across the country. Flying is not easy. In fact, I think he talked about it on a Sirius XM show Monday, just about even just flying at as a 37-year-old veteran quarterback coming off a few hits, and that he feels good. So that's certainly some good news. As of course, that was always kind of the big question mark with Stafford's back. How is it going to be holding up? I mean, it still feels like we're not really out of the woods yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just at the end of week 2. You and I both know flying with a bad back is not ideal. But yeah, so I'm less worried after week 2. I was more worried a little bit after week 1, especially how he will respond after taking those hits. The Texans have a really good a defensive line. Titans, not so much. We'll see about the Eagles. The Eagles' defensive line, they still have a Jordan Davis and company there, and it's going to be difficult. But I'm not too concerned with Stafford, because he said post game, after both games, that his back is feeling fine, and I mean he's feeling good, so not too concerned yet. But
Yes.
it's one of those things where you have to be mindful of week in and week out.
Yeah, and he's going to go up against that Eagles D line. Really quickly, before we look ahead to the Eagles and we're going to wrap up week 2, one of the things that I really liked about this Rams, they call it complementary football, which is where the defense gave some opportunities, and of course the offense cashed in. And what I liked was they were behind heading into halftime. You had that Cam Ward cross the body pass all the way to Io Manor. And it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable play. It was highly dangerous, but it, worked out for the Titans. And what Coach McVay said during the half when he was interviewed by Evan Washburn, he said, we need momentum. And momentum, they certainly capitalized on. And that's what I liked to see, that while, yes, they had the slow start, they were down by, I want to say 3.5, entering second half, they managed to capitalize on opportunities. And that is what this team does very well, is they're scrappy, they're gritty, and they have the ability to be resilient during times of high stress situations, which is what I feel like Coach McVay talked about a lot, that good stress is good. So capitalizing on that, of course, the strip sack out of Byron Young, and then Nate Landman again showing up when he needs it, answering the call, of course, as a team captain. It really was kind of an all-around complimentary football game for the Rams.
Yeah, maybe the biggest thing that Sean McVay had a torn plantar fascia in the sideline. I mean, that was probably the biggest takeaway from the game, and the biggest, one of the biggest injuries, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Nate Landman, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give him a shout out. I mean, the first week, that strip that he had that probably won the game for the Rams when the Texans were driving, and then to respond with a really good game in week 2. I was kind of harsh on the Rams signing a veteran linebacker instead of drafting one early in the draft.
Yeah, so let's get into that. And of course, I interviewed Nate Landman last Friday before they were taking off to Nashville. And one of the things that I had asked him, why do you think you were selected as a team captain? What is it about you that you think evokes qualities of a leader? And he said his ability to be vocal. He's not a rah-rah type guy, and he wants to get the respect of his teammates. And it seems like back-to-back weeks, he certainly is earning that title of being a team captain. So let's get into it, because it's time to break down week 3. Can the Rams go 3-0? What a start to the season. I don't think that they've been able to start 3-0 for a minute. And, of course, the Rams have been sort of historically have had slow starts to start the season. So looking to go 3-0 against a team they have not been able to beat. Twice they played the Eagles last year, and twice, A1 Saquon Barkley ripped them a little bit to shreds on the ground. So that's what I want to ask you. The Eagles are are favored 3.5 points at home. Do you agree with that? According to FanDuel Sportsbook, do you agree with that line? Do you think that the Eagles should have 3.5 points? Or should it be more?
Well, definitely, we got to go to FanDuel to bet.
Yeah, we
But
totally do.
to be honest, I think that's fair. And I say that's fair because 3.5 away, that's not a huge discrepancy. And then, the Eagles, yes, they're 2-0, but their wins haven't been very convincing. The Cowboys kept it close in week 1, had a chance to win that game. I mean, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't have those drops, maybe we're seeing a different story. And then the Chiefs, I mean, yes, that was a Super Bowl 59 rematch, but it was kind of close during pretty much the whole entire game. And the Chiefs are without their 2 offensive, top 2 wide receivers, and Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. So I do Bleav, being that I've seen both of the Eagles games, that the Rams have an opportunity to pass on the Eagles, especially with their cornerbacks. I mean, Davante Adams and Puka Nacua, they're going to have advantages on the outside. The Eagles' pass defense isn't that good. Outside of Jalen Carter and pretty much Jordan Davis in the middle, they don't have like rushers that really can get after the quarterback very well. So I'm kind of optimistic of the Rams' chances. However, it is going to be that defensive side of the football for the Rams. Can they contain Saquon Barkley? And Rams fan, I don't need to go over it. They already know what Saquon Barkley did to them twice last year. Rushed for over 200 yards twice, 4 touchdowns combined. That is going to be where the game is won. Can you contain the Eagles' high-powered running attack? And it's not just Saquon. It's Jalen Hurts as well. Can you contain them? Can you stop them? If they rush for 100, 200, 300 rushing yard game, it's over. So that's going to be the story of the game for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think it's like, a bad ex-girlfriend just, coming flashes at you. But I'm going to do it anyways. Week 12 in LA, 26 carries, 255 yards. That's a 9.8 yards per carry plus 2 touchdowns. Okay, that was week 12. Of course, their divisional round, this was in Philly, 205 yards on 26 carries, 7.9 yards per carry, and also had 2 scores. That's a total of 52 carries, 460 yards, 8.8 yard per carry, and 4 touchdowns.
See, I didn't want to say the stats verbatim.
I know.
But yeah.
I had to go there.
It was bad. I still remember. I mean, every time I looked, I was at SoFi Stadium when they played, and every time I looked up from my computer, Saquon was running for another 60 yards.
Yeah, he's like gone. He had touchdown runs of 70, 72, 62, and 78 yards in those games. Eagles fans are hoping for a replay of all of that. I mean, look, it's why they paid Saquon the big bucks. And I'm guaranteeing, I don't even know at what point the Rams started circling the Eagles matchup and when did they start preparing for it. How do you even stop a guy like Saquon? And do the Rams have the measurables in place to do such a thing?
Well, listen, it's not a knock on the Rams. Saquon Barkley was voted the number 1 player in the NFL by the players himself on NFL Top 100. So stopping him is a difficult task. What I've seen the Kansas City Chiefs do, and pretty much what I've seen the Cowboys do, is you put 9 players in the box. You drop a safety down, and hopefully you keep him on that first, he can't get to the 3rd level of the defense. And at minimum, the 2nd level, your linebackers, your defensive linemen, they have to be sure tacklers, and they can't let Saquon break loose for a long run. because if he breaks loose for like a 20-yard run, Saquon has a tendency to that gets his juices flowing, and he feels like he can do it again. That's why with the Rams, you saw he broke one and then broke one again. Like it's a cumulative effect that Saquon will have. Now, if you keep him contained, and there's going to be those 5 to 8 to 10-yard runs, but that's going to happen with the best running back in NFL. But if you can limit those huge gains and contain him to maybe an 80-yard game, like the Kansas City Chiefs had, even though they lost, then the Eagles have shown their passing game right now has not really got off the ground. A.J. Brown, he's on my fantasy team, and I'm kind of mad.
Are you mad? You're big mad.
Because he hasn't done that much throughout these first 2 games. And that's because the Eagles, that's probably their Achilles heel, is their passing game. Yes, Jalen Hurts is a good passer of the football. Yes, they can, but they prefer to run the football, play smash mouth, and impose their will on the ground. So if the Rams can kind of force the Eagles to be a passing team and get them on 2nd and longs, get them on 3rd and longs where they can't do the tush push or the brotherly shove, that is a recipe for success.
Yeah, well, and I think the Rams have taken down, I think they've sacked, they've had 8 sacks. That's tied for 2nd in the NFL. I know it's still early, but you're showing that the defensive line certainly has this aggressiveness that can be a threat. However, one of the things I did want to remind you of, Ahkello Witherspoon went down with that broken clavicle. Yeah. They brought in Trey Brown, former Seahawk. You mentioned A.J. Brown is not doing big numbers for your fantasy team. Are you concerned about Ahkello's injury? Is that something that Rams fans should be concerned by right now?
Yeah, I am concerned because that's a starting cornerback, and that's what I was kind of alluding to when I was talking about Sean McVay's injury. It wasn't the only big injury of the game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's somebody who is like a lengthy corner who can cover, a Devontae Smith or an A.J. Brown. And without him, that takes a hit to your cornerback room. But luckily, we've seen, at least on the Rams side, that they're playing a team that hasn't really got their passing game clicking. Mm-hmm. And they're going to focus on running the football. Yes, they have the horses on the outside, but for whatever reason, that has not come into fruition. So maybe this is a game where the Rams don't necessarily need a really good pass defense to, come on the field. But it is a blow, certainly, for sure.
Well, and they can't make the kinds of mistakes I feel like we saw that they were given a lot of flexibility to have. Some ill-timed penalties. They were not able to capitalize on that one turnover and convert it into points. And I think, the one thing that they're just not going to have the flexibility or the grace by the Eagles to get away with those things in the event they have those penalties or they don't capitalize on those turnovers. How do you clean those things up? And what do you think Sean McVay is trying to sort of hone in at practice to the guys in terms of discipline?
Got to preach execution and pay attention to the fine details, and don't remember the fine details, and keep your form, whether it's holding call or, the defensive illegal touching. I mean, those are going to get called. And unfortunately, you see a lot of times it's the road team that gets called for the most penalties, especially in a hostile environment. So I do think Sean McVay is a good enough coach to preach that a lot during the week, and saying that you guys have to be on your P's and Q's and have to put your best foot forward against the defending Super Bowl champs in order to beat them. And the players know that. I mean, if anything, the Rams know that because they got beat twice against this team last year. So I do think it's going to be a cleaner game. They can't afford the mental mistakes that they had against Tennessee. Quite frankly, I think we mentioned it last week. The Titans game had the ability to be a trap game for the Rams. because they were looking forward to already looking ahead to the Eagles. And it kind of showed its ugly head in the first half of being a trap game. Sometimes that just happens naturally, and you can ill afford that knowing that you have a huge opponent coming up. And this is a subject, but I'm shocked the game's not on like Sunday Night Football or a prime time.
I know it's at 10 a.m.
The Rams and Eagles should be a prime time game. Yeah, and the West Coast, 10 a.m. start. Like, we're all eating our breakfast and watching the game.
Barely waking up. I'm gonna call
our breakfast, coming home from church to watch. Like, this should be a prime time game.
Somebody needs to call the commish and let them know Aaron and Tyler are not happy about this time situation, 10 a.m. kick. But yes, it is going to be a good game indeed. And, speaking of cool things that happen, I was really excited to see, although Jarquez Hunter was active for the first time, you got to see Blake Corum get in on the mix. What'd you like out of that? And let's dive into, before we kind of wrap things up, what'd you see out of the run game? It was a little bit of a slow start out of Kyren Williams, but I was stoked to see Blake Corum finally get some well-deserved time in the ground game.
I hope we can see more of that. Maybe it's a preview for something more. I mean, Aaron, I've been preaching for Blake Corum and Kyren Williams to be in the backfield together. I mean, I don't know why they don't do that. Sean McVay is a way better coach than I am, knows more football than me, but I wish that we can kind of see that. However, I am happy to see him get a few more carries. Maybe that will continue to go against, in week 3. However, I have a feeling the Rams are going to be pass heavy against the Eagles. I have a feeling that they are, because the Eagles have shown that is their weakness right now, their pass defense. So, but maybe they'll prove me wrong and they'll mix it up a little bit and try to focus on the run with the Kyren Williams and the Blake Corum.
I mean, it was a pretty balanced attack last week in terms of passing and running. It was a little bit of a slow start just in general from the Rams offense. So hopefully they can get things going, set the tempo. I talked to Jimmy Garoppolo Friday, and he had said the same thing, just the fact that the Titans are a great defense, and getting the momentum going with their run game can then hopefully open up the passing game. And we didn't see a big stat line out of Devontae week 1, but despite that, he still makes his presence known by getting double coverage, opening up the field, seeing those incredible plays from Puka. I mean, that pass from Stafford was reposted on NFL's Instagram to Devontae, kind of like that sidearm. I mean, it's just insane. It is remarkable to me that Stafford doesn't need a single minute of training camp, and the dude pulls out a rabbit out of his hat, and it's just insane. I mean, it could be the best. Do you think the best wide receiver duo in the NFL after 2 weeks? Have we seen it?
It's definitely in discussion now, especially if you count the quarterback throwing the passes to the wide receiver duo, because I would give that advantage to Cincinnati, but we now know Joe Burrow is going to be out for at least 3 months. So, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, and the wide receiver corps that they're playing this week, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, those are, in my opinion, the best two in the NFL when you consider the quarterbacks throwing the football to them. And Devontae Adams, I said before, he was the best free agent addition of the offseason. To me, he proved in week 1 because Derek Stingley was covering him, and that opened the whole field up for Puka Nacua. And then he had over 90 receiving yards, led the team in week 2. Let's see what he's going to do this week.
You said it before. You're going to say it again, Tyler. All right, before we wrap things up, Eagles, Rams, over under 44.5, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. What say you?
I'm going to
go. Is it going to be a
over.
high scoring?
I think I'm going around 47, 48 points.
Okay. And who's getting the W?
I got to be objective because the fans are going to see.
No, you don't.
The fans are going to see my prediction on USAtoday.com, Aaron. So I did pick the Eagles to win this game.
Wow.
Because the Eagles are probably the best team in football. Right now, I do believe they're the best team in the NFC. They are beatable, though, and they've shown the past 2 weeks that they're beatable. I just feel like they're going to get A.J. Brown going, hopefully for my fantasy sake. I'm just joking. But I feel like they're going to get their pass game going. And Saquon Barkley, he's the best player in the NFL, and the Rams have not shown me that they can stop him yet. That's why I'm picking the Eagles. Now you have to say your pick too. Who's your pick?
Listen, it is hard to go with the Rams until we see them prove us otherwise. Mm-hmm. I'll say it's going to be a close one just because it's on the road. It's in Philly. I say the Rams win by 3.
Whoa.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm welcomed at Rams facility in Woodland Hills when I go there each and every week.
They're not going to welcome me anymore. Exactly. I hope they will. I gotta be objective here.
Listen, you got to do your job. And at the end of the day, that's what the people want. The people want you to be honest and authentic. And if you say that the Eagles are going to pull off a win in Philly, they're going to pull off a win. Look, it's hard to argue otherwise. And until we see the Rams really figure out what is the recipe to stop Saquon Barkley, I think what I know for sure is we'll know a lot more about the Rams once week 3 is over. And
I can't wait for this game. This will be a really good game. I cannot
wait. 10 a.m. Sunday. It is the game of the week. It should be Sunday Night Football. We're gonna call Raj after the show wraps and let him know what we think about this. But that'll do it for us. A good little preview of week 3. I'm excited to see what happens. It's a rematch for the ages. The Eagles at home against the Rams. All right, well, that'll do it. Bleav in Rams, presented by FanDuel. I'm Aaron Coscarelli alongside Tyler Dragon of USA Today. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you later.